All right, guys, here we are back again. I apologize for it being so long before I posted that last video, but man, I got a lot of ideas and I got a lot of videos I want to make this weekend so I can start posting them more often than not. I hate that I have to wait so long to post something, but you know, life happens. This morning, it's almost 9 o'clock. About a couple hours ago, I had surgery. So I was told not to go to work today. So I was told to come home and take my medication and just relax. So I followed the doctor's orders, and after about 5 minutes of relaxing, got energized and I'm ready to go. So I'll even do some artwork for you guys today, so you get to see what my artwork looks like even with this thing on. But man, if I can't go to work, I'm gonna get to work somehow. You know me, I don't like to just sit around and do nothing. I get bored, and I hate getting bored. Bored is not something that exists in my vocabulary, okay? So when you're a leader, you can't get bored. There's no such thing. What I wanted to go over today, because if you've been watching my videos, I have been harping on what is the difference between being a manager and being a leader, and what difference does it make in your clinic, your small business, whatever the case may be, okay, your medical practice. Why is it important to know the difference between the two? So today I wanted to show you the difference, because I've been to a lot of offices. Okay, I've been in this industry for about 34, almost 35 years, guys. So I get to visit a lot of offices. I get to talk to a lot of doctors. I am a part of a organization called COAT. So I get to talk to a lot of my fellow opticians here in the state of Texas. And I know how, you know, they've always talked to me, you know, how can I handle this situation or that situation? So that's where I get my ideas. And so here's the difference, guys. What I want to show you is how some offices are structured and how some offices should be structured, and the difference between the two. What is the difference between having a manager in your environment and leaders in your environment? In that last video that I posted, I did something called Leaders Math. If that didn't make sense to you, guys, keep watching it, okay? Because it has to make sense. That leader's math, how you grow, versus the follower's math. So important. And that's going to lead to what we're going to go into today, okay? So my artwork, I am right-handed, so I kind of had to draw before I started this video. I drew two triangles today. The first one I want to show you, I'll cover the bottom one. The first one I want to show you is this top triangle that I drew. If you notice, in this triangle, there's a letter M at the top and E's at the bottom. This is how most offices, most businesses, most medical clinics are structured these days, okay? The M is for a manager. The E at the bottom is for employees, okay? So you can see at the bottom, there's a lot of area for employees. Everybody starts at the bottom, okay? So you got a manager that's hiring all these employees at the bottom. Now what happens? What is the next step? You know, how's everything going? How's everything feeling, okay? So this is how most offices are structured. You got the picture there? All right. Have you ever heard the saying, it's lonely at the top? If you are a manager, you probably do feel lonely a lot, okay? Because here's the thing, guys, nobody likes you, okay? You're not the most favorite person in the office, okay? For a lot of reasons, okay? All they hear from you is no, 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 no. Do it this way, my way, my way, my way, my way, my way, or else, okay? That's not somebody that people wants to clock in and work with on a daily basis. Not me, I can tell you that. Now, that is the way most people exist. I get it. There has to be some sort of a structure wherever you go. But for some reason, this is the way most places have it, is there's a manager at the top, a bunch of employees at the bottom. So if you've ever heard that, it's lonely at the top, if you're a manager, you're going to feel lonely a lot, okay? Because the reason for that is because you're at the top, everybody else is down here at the bottom, okay? Everybody has to start at the bottom, okay? So the other thing is too, is it's kind of it's my way or the highway kind of atmosphere. And can I be honest with you guys? That's no fun, okay? That's no fun at all, okay? When will the manager be replaced? Well, a lot of times in those structures, when the manager either retires or when they die, okay? Unfortunately, that's probably the only way that they're going to get replaced. Now, there are sometimes managers do get fired, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. If they're not doing the job, they need to get fired, okay? And then now you got to find somebody to replace them. But what is that going to be? Nobody knows, okay? Nobody knows. Here's the big thing, guys. Will you ever see a manager training another employee to replace them? No, okay? Why should they? Why would they, okay? After all, that manager, if they train somebody and that person ends up being better than them, guess what? They just trained their replacement, okay? And a lot of times for a manager, not all the time, guys, most of the times, okay? A lot of times for a manager, the role, that title is more important than the goal. Let me say that again. The role is more important than the goal, okay? Not good, okay? You can't do that, all right? That's not the way to do it, but unfortunately, that's the way it is. That manager is going to do whatever they need to do to protect that title, no matter what it takes, no matter who it hurts, okay? They're going to protect that title, that role. That's more important to them, okay? Not necessarily the goals, the big picture, okay? But the role, all right? Do employees want to do it, or do they have to do it? When an employee shows up in this kind of a structure and they got a manager that's managing, micromanaging them, my way or the highway kind of mentality, are the employees really wanting to do what needs to get done for the better of the practice or for the better of the business? Or are they doing it because they have to, or they're going to get fired, okay? It's a big difference, guys. A lot of times, and I'll share with you what the difference is here in just a second. I don't like wanting to go to the office and having to do something. I like going to the office wanting to do something so that I can make a big difference. Did you hear what I said? There is a difference between having to do something and wanting to do something to make a difference, okay? What legacy are you going to leave? Who's going to remember what you did? Okay, the patients, your teammates at the office. So does an employee, when they show up, are they doing what they're doing because they have to or because they want to? They want to help out with the bigger picture. How fast is your practice growing in this kind of a structure? Okay, when there's a manager at the top, employees at the bottom, how fast are you growing? How fast is your business growing? How fast is your medical practice growing? Go watch that video that I posted on leaders math versus followers math. You guys, you have to learn that formula, okay? That should show you how fast your business, your practice is going to grow, okay? I learned that from day one when I started studying leadership, okay? And I knew the importance of, number one, getting a good team, okay, a great team. And then number two, the value of momentum, okay? You got to understand the value of what that means to have momentum as a team, as a business, as a practice, okay? Once you got it, man, you better protect it. You better protect that momentum, okay? Who has the most influence? When you got a manager at the top, you got leaders at the bottom. Does the manager always have the most influence? No, okay? They do not. I just stepped on somebody's toes. I know I did. But remember, I'm doing it professionally, okay? A manager, because they have a title, does not mean they always have the most influence, okay? They don't. Go around to your office and look around. If you have a big team, what are the other employees doing? Are they following the example and doing what the person with the most influence is doing, or the person with the title is doing? Okay? You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. Next team meeting you guys have, look around. Who's everybody listening to? When somebody speaks, are they shaking their head like, yeah, that's a good idea? Okay? That person may not be the manager, but they have the most influence. Okay? Learn who that person is. Now, managers, if you do not have the most influence, nothing wrong with that. If you don't change it, if you don't make changes and get influence from your team, now there's something wrong with that. Okay? You got to realize that the goal is more important than the role. Okay? Forget about your title. All right? My people at my office, I keep reminding them, don't call me a manager. That's just a title. I could care less about titles. Call me a team leader if you have to give me one, but I don't want to be a manager. Okay? At this point in my life, I don't want to manage anybody. Okay? I do want to lead a lot of people and make a difference and influence a lot of people. I just don't want to be a manager. Okay? Not at my age. Okay? I'm not 18 anymore. Okay? So titles don't matter to me. All right? Now, so the person with the most influence, again, is not necessarily the one with the title. Who takes credit when a goal is reached? Ever notice that when a manager in this structure, that when a goal is reached, or something is reached, that a goal that y'all set together as a team, the people down here at the bottom, the E's, the employees, are not necessarily getting the credit. It's the person at the top of that triangle. Okay? Now, let me flip that coin around. When something goes wrong or a mistake is made, who's getting blamed? The person at the top of the triangle, or the people at the bottom? All those E's, those employees. Okay? You see the difference there? Okay? You got to flip that around, guys. You got to flip that around. All right? So that more or less is the way most offices, most businesses are structured. And if you're there right now, that's okay. Tomorrow or Monday, this weekend, if you're the one with the M at the top of that triangle, sit down, write down, what changes you need to make. Okay? It always starts with you. All right? I keep saying on my videos, guys, everything rises and falls on leadership. So if you're at the top with that triangle and you have this kind of a structure, make some changes and you'll find out that it's going to make a big difference. Now, I showed you the way that most offices are run with this kind of a structure. The M at the top, E's at the bottom. Okay, those employees. Now, let me show you the way I like to run my team. All right, let me show you the structure that we have. All right, now that triangle, the triangle is now flipped upside down. All right, now look who is at the top. Look at the bottom, you got an E, okay, because all the employees, when they join my team, they start at the bottom. We do have to train them, okay? We do have to train them. Now, what I want to do eventually as the team leader, though, is I want to make them what? Leaders. I want to make them L's, okay? I don't want to make employees stay an employee while they're there in my office, okay? I don't want followers. I want leaders. Again, go back to that math, followers math versus leaders math, and you'll find out why, okay? Now, there's that structure again. Remember it, get a picture of it, draw it, pause this video, draw it, okay? This is the way I like to run things. Now, The other way, it was lonely at the top, right, manager? You're the only one at the top, okay? My way, it's crowded at the top. I'm up there with a whole bunch of leaders. I'm up there planning, discussing, strategizing, okay, with other leaders on my team. Okay, when I start somebody new on my team, I immediately start looking at them, talking to them, listening to them as their future leaders on my team. Okay? Why? All right. Now, I've always said this before. I get excited when somebody new comes to my team. Okay? Why? Because they may have an idea that I've never seen or heard because they came from another team or another practice or another business. Okay? And that idea may help our system, our team become more successful. I want to hear those ideas. Okay? Now, I shared this with my team at the last team meeting that we had a couple of weeks ago. If I come to the table, and I got this from my mentor, John C. Maxwell, in one of his videos, and I always use this all the time on my team. So John Maxwell, my mentor, love him, got almost all his books. Thank you, sir, for teaching me everything I know so far about leadership. So I give him credit for this. So if I come to the table with one idea, and you come to the table with your idea, but we never share our ideas, and then we leave, how many ideas do you still have? Just one, okay? Just one. So now, if I have a team of 9, 10 team members, and we all come to the table together, we all bring our ideas to the table and we share our ideas, and I share mine, how many ideas do I now have? A bunch, okay? So now I get to use other people's ideas. We put those ideas on the table. Let's try it. Let's see if it makes us more efficient. Let's see if it makes this team better. And let's see if we can somehow make it, when we strategize these new ideas, what changes will it make for us? Let's study that. I'll try anything for 30 days, guys. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, okay? I'm not the only one with the best idea. It can't be that way, because if it is that way, guess what? Now you're going back to it's my way or the highway mentality, okay? You can't do that. You can, but it's not going to be any fun, okay? Now, how long is it going to be until I get replaced as team leader? You already saw all those L's at the top. Those L's are up there with me. Guess what, guys? It should not be long before I get replaced as team leader. I always shared this story when we went to Fallujah, the Battle of Fallujah, the second battle. I was there for Operation Phantom Fury. I was the squad leader, so I had other Marines under my charge. We were a part of a major battle, okay? When they took me into a meeting with my platoon commander and my platoon sergeant, they told me who I was going to be in charge with, who I was going to take with me that night when we first go in the battle, and then what our mission was going to be for the 12 of us, and how are we going to help the bigger picture, the mission that we all, of course, want to accomplish is, to destroy our enemy, okay? Now, I could have said, you know what, I'm the sergeant, we're going to do it my way or the highway, okay? Or I could have said, that mission, okay, the bigger mission for 3rd Battalion's 1st Marines is to destroy the enemy. That's what's more important than my rank of a sergeant. So if I go down, somebody has to take my spot, okay, as that role, as that sergeant, because the mission was more important than my rank. Guys, the bigger picture, the goal should always be more important than the role. Always, okay? So when will a leader be replaced? Hopefully, as soon as possible. I can't do this forever, guys. Okay, for some reason my gray hair starts showing more and more every day. I don't understand that. But hey, I got some hair still. All right. But my wisdom is showing now, and I'm not 18, and I realize that, and I realize I can't do this forever. The clock's ticking. Okay, I may not be wounded at the office, but there's gonna come a day when I may not be able to lead anymore. And now, because I'm training and teaching others how to be leaders, when I do happen to leave, whenever that day is, it's years down the road, whenever that day does happen, no big deal. Somebody's going to step in my spot and take over. Okay? Now, that other old structure as the manager, are they always working on strengths or weaknesses? The manager over here in this old structure is always working on strengths. And I got this as well from John C. Maxwell. The manager is always working on weaknesses. The leader is always working on strengths. Here's why. When a manager is working on somebody, they're usually counseling somebody because they did something wrong. Okay? So that manager is always busy counseling the employees because they made a mistake, because they did something wrong, because they're late, because the values that I'm trying to teach them as a future leader, they're not reaching. Those standards are not being met. Okay, expectations are not being met. So now the manager has to sit down with the employee and counsel them. Okay, so they're working on their weaknesses over there. On the structure that I want in my team, I'm working on my teammates' strengths. Why? Because now, instead of counseling the people that work with me, I'm equipping them, okay? Because they are leaders. I don't have to counsel them as much because they're leaders. They have the mentality of a leader. So now I want to know what resource do they need? What training do they need? Where do they need to go to get more training? What do we need to teach them? What do we need to go over? Do we need to have a meeting? And share more ideas. We're working on our strengths. So I am equipping my teammates, not counseling. So I'm spending more time on that versus a manager who's always counseling their employees. Big difference. What would you rather spend more time on? Counseling? Equipping. Okay? I'd rather equip my leaders and make them stronger and stronger teammates so that as a team we can be stronger, okay? Who gets the credit? You will always hear a good coach, a good leader, when a team loses, he blames the loss on himself. When the team wins, he gives the credit to his assistant coaches and to the players. Okay? The coach doesn't get nothing. That's a good coach. That's a good leader. The manager is always going to want the credit. Most managers, okay? Not all. When something goes wrong, they're going to try to find somebody to blame. A coach, when they lose, you will never hear a good coach. You know, I always go back to Jimmy Johnson back in the days when the Cowboys won 3 Super Bowls. A long time ago, okay? When the team lost, it was because of him and the coaches. He could have done better. He could have been better. He could have prepared the team better. He could have had better practices. That was on him. He never blamed the players for losses. Guys, if you want to study a good coach, go to YouTube. There's a lot of documentaries on Jimmy Johnson and his mentality on how he led the Cowboys to 3 Super Bowls in 5 years, guys. That doesn't happen anymore, okay? There's a reason why he did it, and I'm studying that reason, all right? Because I want my team to win, all right? Why else would I study Jimmy Johnson? Now, I want to finish with this. The credit, the blame, okay? When you are working in an environment when nobody cares who gets the credit, when something good happens, you're in a good environment. If somebody wants credit every time something good happens, okay, I may pat him on the back. Now, here's the difference, guys, because I've been trying to learn this myself. I already go around the office looking for somebody to do something good, because every little win in my mind is a win. When I see somebody on my team do something right, do something good, handle something in a way that I taught them to do it, and it benefited us as a practice, as a team, I'm gonna pat them in the back, okay? But that's my job, to see that, to do that. I don't need nobody sending me an email that, hey, I did this and I deserve credit. No, okay? I always, my dad, I remember one time he's like, nothing should impress you unless they can walk on water in this life. Money never impressed my dad. Money never impressed me. So unless you can show me how to take my money to heaven when I end up there, then okay, I'll listen to you. But materials, money, they don't impress me. If he can walk on water, I like to see that, okay, without magic or doing something deceitful. It takes a lot to impress me, okay? So I tell people, don't try to impress me. You're not gonna get far, okay? But my job is to go around, whether somebody's been on my team for 2 months, 2 years, 10 years, I'm still gonna go around and pat them on the back and say, good job, man. I saw the way you handled that. I heard the way you handled that. That's exactly the way doctors that own the practice would have wanted you to do that. And I'm gonna share that with the doctors, what you did, okay? So that'll, they love that. Everybody wants to be patted on the back, okay, so to speak. So that, leaders, don't forget to do that. That is part of your job, okay, whether you like it or not. All right. Now, I always tell my team that we're always in some sort of race, okay? And here's the part that I want to share with you last. When on both structures, what happens at the end when finally a goal is reached, okay? So you'll see at the top, you got that first structure with a manager at the top. When a goal is reached, let me see if I can draw this here. Here's the finish line, okay? That practice, that corporation, that team has finally crossed the finish line, all right? But who's on the other side of the finish line first? The manager, all by themselves. So the celebration is usually a meh, okay? Big deal. Because everybody down here that was doing all the hard work hasn't crossed the finish line yet. What fun is that? What fun is that, guys? No fun at all. Now, look at the way I want to run things in my practice, in my philosophy. Now, look at this little structure down here, okay? Now look at the finish line. We just reached a huge team goal. Now look who's over the finish line. All of us, myself and all the leaders that were doing all the hard work, doing all the, I might have come up with the strategies, but all my leaders on my team do all the hard work. We all are now celebrating together, which makes it more fun because we reach something together, okay, as a team. Okay, guys, are you seeing the difference now why I want to do this at my practice on my team and why I want to share this with you? Try this, okay? You got to start, treating your employees like leaders, number one, okay? The future leaders, okay? Excuse me. That is the only way that you're going to have fun together when all of you cross the finish line together. So much fun. Guys, I hope that I made some sense there to you. I want to cut it short. I promise you I will make these videos short. I'll try to keep my promise here, okay? Excuse me. The last things that I'll share is, don't forget, it is now mid-August. This is my book that I've been sharing with you on my video. Which is better, 1 or 2? How to have a great team. By September 1st, what I'm being told is the hardback version should be coming out. I should be getting word soon as well as to where I'm going to have a book signing deal, hopefully at a Barnes & Noble somewhere locally. As soon as I get that news, I will find out. And then I will leave a link at the bottom of the website where you can buy my books. And then hopefully I will share with you, I'll do a video and make an announcement as to where I'm having that book signing deal at a bookstore soon, okay? I should know that within a couple of weeks, hopefully around Labor Day, all right? Guys, I appreciate you guys listening to my videos, watching my videos. Again, if you can please like, subscribe my videos, buy my book. All that's going to do is just support me and help me to reach my goal, my dreams. One day, hopefully early next year, I want to start speaking on the circuit on the topic of leadership, particularly in our industry, but I'll go anywhere, okay? I just feel in my heart that this industry that I've been in for almost 35 years, it's lacking in the topic of leadership. And we need more leaders in this industry. I really feel that in my heart. That's how much passion I got for this industry. And so I want to, start teaching everybody in this industry more about the topic of leadership. So I'll leave you with this. Remember, when it comes to leadership, learn the part, teach the part, dress the part. It's easy to learn the topic of leadership, okay? Very easy, all right? Everybody can learn it. When you do learn it, share that knowledge, okay? Share it with everybody else on your team, all right? Don't just keep that to yourself. That's not gonna do you any good, all right? And then dress the part. When somebody looks at you, let them know that what they're looking at is a future leader that's confident, knows where they're going, and if they follow you, they're gonna get somewhere. I appreciate you following me tonight. Thank you for watching this video. Y'all have a good night.